right, today, folks, we are going to discuss the topic of life care plans, the roadmap to big settlements. Welcome to another informative segment of Live with Mitch from the law firm of Proner and Proner. I'm your host, Mel McCuyip. And we sit down with the expert himself, Mr. Mitch Proner, a personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience, here to answer your questions or anything interesting that you might find useful in the personal injury world. Now, a quick plug. If you want to meet us in person, we will be present this Saturday, October 25th, 2025, at the Harvest Festival at the Church Center of Prayer in Corona, Queens. This is in honor of the local police department. We will be there from 3 to 6 p.m. And just remember, folks, if you need to contact us, all consultations are free and confidential. Call us at any time at 1-800-321-1234. How you doing, Mitch?
Doing well. Good to see you, Mel.
Good to see you. Very good.
So we got an interesting topic today.
Yes.
Life care plans. And basically the story is this. Not every case requires a life care plan because not everybody needs a plan for treatment for the rest of their life.
Right.
For example, let's suppose somebody broke their arm. Well, they might have 6 weeks in a cast and go for some physical therapy when the cast is removed. And then it might have some residual limitation of motion or strength deficits where they want to try more physical therapy. Maybe they'll even do another surgery.
Right.
But many times that's it. They take the cast off, a little bit of therapy, then they say just use it. And that's it. On the other hand, there are injuries that require a lifetime of care. And oftentimes, after a traumatic injury, someone needs ongoing care because the injuries are permanent and they require permanent care. And further, some injuries are going to become progressively worse. So in those cases, and in every case, a patient who has these needs, if those needs are due to injuries sustained in the accident, future medical care is part of the damages of the claim and the case.
Okay.
In a personal injury lawsuit, you're entitled to past loss of earnings from the date of the incident up until the date of verdict if the case goes to trial, and future loss of earnings for the time the person is likely to have a work life expectancy. And there are actually tables they call actuarial tables, the same type of tables that life insurance companies use to determine how long is somebody likely to keep working. And based on statistical evidence, that doesn't mean that the jury would have to accept those tables. They could think the guy would have retired sooner, or maybe he would have worked longer. But there are statistics that can be used and introduced into evidence. So you're entitled to past loss of earnings, future loss of earnings.
Okay.
Those are typically calculated with tax returns, career earnings, and at times an economist. Well, you're also entitled to future medical expenses. Future medical expenses can be proven with a life care plan. A life care plan typically will have different categories. So, first category might be orthopedic visits. Somebody needs 3 orthopedics visits a year for the next 10 years, and then once every 5 years, whatever the plan requires.
Okay.
Then it could say physical therapy once every 6 months for 6 weeks. Then it could say medications if the person's on ongoing medication. Then physical therapy, medication, x-rays, MRIs. They might say You need another surgical procedure. For example, let's suppose the case involves a prosthesis, a joint replacement.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that implant might be expected to wear down within 10, 15 years and needs to be replaced again.
Right.
And so they could say, well, there's 3 replacement surgeries in the victim's life, depending on the age. So then what are the costs of the future surgeries? Can calculate that as well. Counseling. A lot of times when the person gets older, they're more likely to be disabled and they can't take care of their own needs. So they're going to need a home health aide.
Right.
And the cost of that home health aide can be calculated as well. Typically, all of those costs are based on present costs. And then an economist can look at the life care plan and determine what those future costs will be
Okay.
based upon standard increases in the different areas where the services are being provided based upon reasonable economic certainty. So then, with the life care plan, the economist could say the cost of future health care is reasonably expected to be 1.6,284,000. And a jury would have a number to look at to base their award for future medical expenses based upon expert testimony. Now, the life care plan can be done by somebody who's not a doctor, but if it, under New York law, if it's not a physician that's providing a life care plan, there needs to be a medical overlay to it, meaning doctors have to provide the data. They can't do it on their own. Whereas if you use a doctor to prepare the life care plan, the doctor can provide the data on their own.
Okay. So so in terms of those, like, this is why it's really important to get expert evaluations, because I mean, but who does those I mean, is the firm the one who searches out for those people to do the evaluations?
So
The
first
law
of
firm?
all, I can look at a case and look at the
Yeah.
injuries, but because I've been doing this long enough, and I could
Right.
say this case needs a life care plan.
Okay.
Other times, initially, I might say the individual doesn't need a life care plan, but the healing process becomes more complicated and the ongoing care becomes more complicated. And so, while initially I might not think they need a life care plan, later on I might determine they need a life care plan.
Ah.
So typically, I'm the one that says needs a life care plan.
Okay.
And then I'll put the individual in touch with one of our experts because typically it starts off with our providing the doctor life care planner the medical records that we have in file. And then the life care planner will want to interview the individual. And then based upon the interview, the history, the review of the medical records, review of necessary data that's out there providing, for example, let's suppose somebody is on a specific medication. Well, what is the cost of that medication per pill? How many pills a month is appropriate? The life care planner might need to look at that data and see, is this something you stay on for life? Is it something you go on for a little while and you get off? And or it could be the medication they're on has nothing to do with the accident.
All right.
So the life care planner might have to do some research.
So that's where it becomes a really good point, especially if it's during a long period of time, that you definitely have to make sure there is no gap in treatment. And so you still have the client still has to maintain contact with the firm saying, oh, this is what I'm doing this, and this is what I'm doing that, regardless of how long that that lifespan would be?
No, I don't think that's. Or you might be right, but the question is a little confusing. Okay, so typically, gap in treatment
Yeah.
refers to when a client goes to a doctor and then they stop going. They might still have symptoms, but they
Okay.
stop going to a doctor. For
Okay.
example, I had shoulder surgery twice. That happened like, well, my kid was 5, he's 29, 25 years ago.
Okay.
I had a surgery, and the surgery resulted in a frozen shoulder where my shoulder didn't move, so I had to get another surgery. And then it got better. Now, that was 25 years ago. I don't think I've seen a doctor for my shoulder in perhaps 25 years,
Okay.
but my shoulder still hurts.
Okay.
Now, if there was a lawsuit for my shoulder injury, which there wasn't, if there was a lawsuit for my shoulder injury and I stopped going to the doctor, there would be a gap in treatment. And the way a gap in treatment can negatively affect the ability to get compensation is there would be no proof that my shoulder is still hurting.
Okay. Yeah.
So that gap in treatment could be used by the defense, and frequently is, to say the guy's all better. There's no proof he was in any pain. There's no medical records. He doesn't have any doctor visits. That's a gap in treatment. And in some cases, like a motor vehicle accident, a gap in treatment can be used to prove there was no serious injury sustained, and the accident victim could get nothing under the law. By law, a gap in treatment can knock out your case. That's treatment.
Right.
This is different. A life care plan is not about a gap in treatment. A life care plan is an expert, which isn't necessarily a treating physician. It's an expert physician who could go in and talk about what medical treatment is necessary in the future,
Okay.
what treatment they'll need in the future. So a life care plan might include a gap in treatment. For example, it might say you need 6 weeks of therapy every 5 years. Well, by definition, there would be a gap in treatment, because if you're only going to a therapist
Right.
for 6 weeks every 5 years, there's a gap in treatment. It's not you're going to therapy according to the plan every day for 5 years. No, there's a gap. So a life care plan could have a gap in treatment if that's appropriate for the injury sustained.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
every injury requires constant treatment, but some might require periodic treatment.
Okay.
So
Wow,
a
that
gap in treatment is a different thing than a life care plan, but a life care plan might include a gap in treatment.
so the life care plan is something you need before while
To
the
prove
case
future
is
damages.
to prove while
Prove
the
future damages.
right,
If there's permanency.
if there's
Okay.
permanency.
So, for example, if there's no permanency to the injury, you don't need future medical care. Right?
Right.
If you're all better, no need for future medical care. You get it?
Right.
Some injuries heal without limitation.
Right.
Right? Some injuries, the doctor say, that's it. You're all done. Go on with your life.
Right.
Hopefully that's the type of injury. Or for example, a scar case. I don't know about you, but I've got scars, right? When I was a little kid, I fell down the chair.
Oh no.
I got a scar under my chin.
Okay.
Now, there's permanency to it. If you took a microscope, if you looked at it closely, you could see a scar under my chin.
Right.
You'd have to look pretty closely, right?
Right.
But I don't need treatment for it.
Right.
So there's permanency, but I don't need treatment. So if I was to get a life care plan for the cut under my chin, there'd be nothing there.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Okay. But let's suppose, for example, I got a client. He's had neck surgery, shoulder surgery, knee surgery, and has a traumatic brain injury. He hasn't stopped seeing the doctor since the accident happened. He's on heavy medication. Well, once the case settles, who's going to monitor his medicine use? He still needs doctors.
Right.
He's not going to be able to go off these strong medications just because the case settled. Right?
Right.
I think most people know somebody who, because of health conditions or for whatever reason, they take medicine every day. Right?
Correct.
Well, they go to a doctor for that. The doctor has to prescribe the medication. And on some medications, there's restrictions. So I'm on medication to lower my cholesterol. I go to the cardiologist every year. He says, you're doing great, but I got to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's not an issue from an accident. But if it was from an issue from an accident, who's going to say how often I should go to the cardiologist? What the medicine is going to cost over my lifetime?
Right.
A life care planner does that.
Got it.
So if you got a permanent injury that requires ongoing care, you need the life care plan to come up with those details as to what medical care you need in the future, and that becomes part of your case. And then you could ask a jury for those future damages.
All right. Well, yeah, that's well, there you have it, folks. You heard it from the expert himself, Mr. Mitch Proner. Yeah, that's some really great information. That's actually that's new information for me. So I
Makes
appreciate
sense?
it, Mitch. It did. It did. I wasn't too sure, but you
Now
clarified
you get
that.
it? All right.
Now I get it. You can test me later.
All right,
Well,
if you've got it, then hopefully our viewers got it as well.
I hope so too.
Otherwise, I'll take another shot at explaining.
Well,
I'm not running out of time.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for now because we still got to get going for the other segments, but that'll do it for now, folks. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. Now, whether it's on our podcast or video broadcast, we really do appreciate you taking this time. And always remember, you can call us 24/7 at 1-800-321-1234, where consultations are free and confidential. Also, if you have not done it yet, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Like, share, and please subscribe so you get the latest updates. Now, before we go, Mitch, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, if you've got a catastrophic injury, then the right attorney can help prepare for your future. And that's an important part of the case.
There we go. That's it. All right. Well, thanks again, Mitch, for yet another informative session with you. And thank you all for checking us out. I know I learned a lot, especially today. I hope you did too. We'll see you all next time. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Mel. Be well.
All right. You too.